All right. Riley, thanks for coming in today. It's Riley. I got that right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And your last name's Jensen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm just gonna make sure I have a couple of things right that I got from your intake paperwork. And so birthday is 3/5/1978.
Yes.
Okay. And then lastly, you were referred from inpatient treatment at the hospital. Does that kind of sound right?
Yep.
All right. Well, I'll introduce myself. My name's Olivia. I'm gonna just be asking you kind of some questions today just to get to know you a little bit. Before I get going too much, I just kind of wanted to touch on, some confidentiality stuff. I just want you to know that this is like a safe space for you to share kind of what you've experienced, what you've been going through, and that stays between you and I, unless, I get your written permission to share that with any other, treatment people that you're working with. And again, that stuff stays in here, unless I hear, things, that you have kind of a plan to hurt yourself or to hurt other people, then I'll have to share that with the people necessary. Does that kind of make sense? Do you have any questions with that?
No.
Okay. All right. I'll just get going then. I mean, I would be just asking some questions to get to know you. And if you need a break or it just feels overwhelming at any point, please just let me know and we can take a little breather and get some water or anything like that.
Okay.
Okay. Can you share with me your race or ethnicity?
I'm white.
Okay. All right. And then can I ask, um what you're here today for? Kind of the things you've been going through and um kind of the problems you've been facing.
Well, I'm here because basically they're making me to get my child back. Um, so that's why I'm here.
Okay. Can I ask, why you feel that your kiddo was removed from you?
Well, they took him away when they put me in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had a knife and had threatened to hurt myself, and my husband called the cops and they took me.
All right.
And then they took him, and he and my husband left too.
Okay. Wow, that sounds like you went through a lot there. Thanks for sharing that with me. I'm sure that wasn't easy to communicate with me since you just met me. So sounds like, kind of going through a lot with your inpatient stay at the hospital and getting your kiddo removed. Have you been experiencing any, symptoms, any like sadness, anxiety? It sounds like we made some threats to harm ourselves, were there any big feelings surrounding that?
Well, yes, I found out my husband was having an affair, and I felt like I went crazy.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And now I just feel sad.
When you say felt like you were going crazy, what did that feel like for you?
It felt like I didn't have control over what I was feeling or how I was reacting.
Okay. And when you had those moments where you didn't, feel in control, like you said, kind of feeling like you're feeling a little crazy, how long, like when did that start for you? And then when those, spouts would come on, how long did you feel like those lasted for? Was it
Oh, it was just that day. It was
okay?
just finding out that information, and it's like I just lost it.
So when you found out that information, it all happened within that same day. The situation with, the knife and your kiddo getting taken away and your husband leaving all was within one whole day.
Hmm.
Wow. Okay. That sounds like a pretty difficult day that you went through. Yeah.
Yeah, sucked.
Since that's been happening, since that day happened, what has your day-to-day felt like?
Well, I mean, I was in the hospital
Hmm.
for 5 days, and I don't know. Now I'm coming out to this whole different situation.
Yeah. What do you feel like your mood today is or yesterday? What do you feel like your kind of presenting mood? What do you feel like inside?
Sad.
Sad. Yeah. Um, since since that day happened and you were in the inpatient hospitalization program, before that, had you ever met with a therapist before or anything like that?
Yeah, I've had other times in my life where I've sought help from a therapist and taken some antidepressants.
So when you met with a therapist before, was that more than one therapist? And do you remember kind of the ages or how long you had seen them for?
Mm. So after I had my baby, um, and probably for like a year, that was about 7 years ago. And then when I was young, like in my 20s, early 20s,
Okay. And then can you share with me if you're willing to kind of both those occasions what brought you to see a therapist?
I feel like after having my baby, it was just your regular postpartum, like
Okay.
just struggling to be a new mom, struggling to the lifestyle change. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't anything, a life event that there was that big change in my life.
Yeah.
When I was younger, I was just stressed out in college and trying to be away from home and make my way.
Okay. So no big leading events, just kind of life circumstances, things going on for
Mhm.
you. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you
Change.
mentioned that, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just gonna say change. It seems like it's all been based around change in my life.
Yeah, that can be hard to work through at times, for sure. Um, you mentioned that you were at one point on antidepressants. What was your experience with that and how old were you and how long did you take those? Do you remember?
I took it after I had my baby 7 years ago. I took them for 1 year and I felt like it helped me. And now when I was in the hospital, they put me on them again.
Okay. So you've been back on them for just a few days now. Okay. Sorry if I didn't mention this, but I'm taking a couple notes. So if I look like I'm facing down, that's what I'm doing, just so I can make sure I get all of the important information you're sharing with me.
Okay.
Um, so I know that you shared, and I know about, just now getting out of the hospital. Was there ever a time before that you were hospitalized, like a kind of a inpatient type program or for any medical type issues or anything like that?
No.
No. Okay. And this is kind of a big question, and I know, due to, circumstances you just experienced, have you, besides the situation about a week ago, ever had, contemplation of suicide or self-harm, or thoughts of like hurting your other people in your life or wanting to kill other people in your life?
Mm, well, no.
Okay.
I
Just,
mean, sometimes like there was times when I was going through those other hard times that I thought if I just fell asleep and didn't wake up, I wouldn't be sad, but I've never thought about harming myself before that day.
um, and then have you ever felt like you experience any hallucinations, like seeing things or hearing things or anything like that?
No.
Okay. All right. Thanks for sharing that with me. I know that can be kind of an awkward or hard question to answer. So thank you. I'm just gonna move into, asking some questions about your family now, kind of what you're growing up and things like that. So with your family, did anyone in your family ever have a history of, any mental health things or substance use within, your parents or siblings or cousins or anything like that? Anyone close to you?
Um, I mean, yeah, substance use. My parents, they live in Sweden, and that's just, I guess, kind of part of it. But I mean, we don't really talk a lot. Like, we don't really communicate that much. I don't know if they ever struggled with depression, or our family doesn't talk about that kind of stuff.
Okay. When you say that they're in Sweden, and what do you mean by that? Are they
I
using
mean,
substances?
that's they live in Sweden, and I don't have tons of communication with them. Whenever we talk, we fight. They don't like that I'm living here.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes I need money, and I ask them for money, and they don't like that. I don't know.
Okay.
We just don't have that kind of relationship. I don't really know if they were ever depressed before, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, and then what about you? Have you ever are you currently using or have you ever used drugs or alcohol? And what does that?
Well, everyone drinks alcohol, right?
Yeah, some people do.
But I don't know.
Yeah.
I I don't use drugs.
Okay. And then what does drinking look like for you? Just throughout the week, or how many drinks do you think you have maybe per week, if you can guess?
I don't really know. A couple times a week.
Okay. Yeah, most people don't really, count how many beers they drink or glasses of wine. Like that's a good guess. Maybe a couple drinks a week, you said.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then kind of going from family into, you said growing up, or now you don't have a much of a relationship with your parents. But growing up, what did that relationship with them look like? Or if you have any siblings, what was that like for you?
I have a brother, and we all just kind of grew up. Like, we we were expected to make really good grades, and there was not a lot of love, but a lot of expectation,
Mhm.
and kind of how our family did it.
Okay. So, doesn't sound like you, at least that you just shared, experience necessarily any abuse or trauma. You just feel like there was kind of little love in the family and that everyone just kind of was forced to grow up kind of early on.
Yeah, just high performance, high achieving, high expectations. Just do all the things.
Mhm. That
Never really talk about how you feel about it. Just do it.
that can be a lot, especially when you're little. A lot to feel like you have to, um, you know, impress those around you. Um, have you, prior to your husband, had you been married to anyone else before?
Yes.
Okay. When was that? How old were
It
you?
was when I was young, in my early 20s. We
Okay.
have a child together, and um, she lives in Hawaii with her dad.
Okay. Um, how old is she? How old is,
Mm,
sorry.
he's almost 18.
Okay. And then your son, you mentioned him is how old is your son?
7.
And then are those just your only two kiddos, or do you have any other children? And okay. Just gonna ask you a couple more questions just about growing up. What was you kind of shared about your education, that it was high expectations to get good grades, and kind of feeling that pressure from your family. Um, what was your schooling like? Did you feel like you had a good experience at school?
I was smart. I speak several languages. I'm an attorney. I I did all the things that I was supposed to do.
Okay. You're an attorney. That's a big job. How long have you been an attorney for?
Over 20 years.
Wow, that's awesome. Do you enjoy that career?
It's work.
Work. Yeah. So it sounds like you've been, experiencing a lot lately just with all the changes kind of just within the last week. It sounds like it's been a huge stressful week for you. Besides, what you've shared with me already, do you feel like there's any other stressors in your life that you've been experiencing?
Um, I don't know. Like I felt like things were always rocky
Hmm.
with my husband, but that just kind of made the crap hit the fan and was my breaking point. And I don't know if it was because there's other pressures going on in my life. I just wigged out, but
Yeah.
I did.
Okay. Do you feel like there's any, support people in your, do you feel like you have a good support system? Any friends or coworkers that you feel like you can go to when you're feeling stressed out or having big feelings?
Yeah. I have a group of women. We have a book club. I know that they're like concerned about me.
Yeah. And then just a couple more um questions for you. Have you ever had any like history of legal problems or anything like that?
No,
Okay. And then any did you ever have you ever been in the military?
no.
All right. We'll get wrapped up here. And then last, I'm just going to ask any other medical issues. You shared with me, that you've had, a couple bouts of depression just earlier on in life. But anything, allergies, on any like medications other than the antidepressants you are on now, any head injuries, anything like that you've experienced?
No, I mean random thyroid issues and yes, I have allergies, but nothing major.
Okay. Any big allergies?
Just
Anything
seasonal.
seasonal? Okay. All right, Riley. Well, I want you to just thank you for, sharing all that information with me. I know that that was probably hard and you probably had to tell a lot of people all that stuff, within the last week, but I just want to thank you for trusting me and being open with me to share that with me. Um,
Thanks.
So going forward, I'm gonna just look over, this information and then kind of just work and figure out what I can do to, best support you. And I'm hoping we can meet again soon and, find some things to just help you work through what you're going through. Does that sound all right?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, thanks for coming in and I'll see you next time.
thanks.